Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer. Drive to Survive bonus episodes today, or right now. Going to be covering episode 3 for the brand, The Tipping Point. Aptly named Tipping Point episode of Drive to Survive. Let's get straight into it. In this episode, we see Red Bull's Max Verstappen pull off a string of victories that is quickly glossed over. Not the best editing. Lewis of Hamilton and Mercedes struggles to keep the pace. Later, an accident leads to controversy. Monaco remains a significant talking point. So we get in our time machine. Hamilton can't find the pace around Monaco. And Verstappen wins. Spoiler alert. Charles Leclerc has a disastrous pole position drama that is also given some attention. And the second half of the episode features the British Grand Prix and that accident, which we all remember. So, what do you think? What do you think of this episode? I know what I think. The timeline is already getting super confusing. It's like watching an episode of Westworld. I don't know what narrative I'm in, and it seems like the producers don't either. Episode 2, we believe briefly see Leclerc get pole, and then they show him going out on the formation lap, and then we go to that again, but this time it's from Mercedes' perspective, so it's just kind of all over the place. It seems like the editors really struggled this season with balancing where they had their cameras and the drama of the championship. It's early season, so at this point in the show, I'm not sure if they just didn't anticipate a title fight. You know, in the past seasons, they've had kind of the liberty, the freedom to do whatever they wanted and just kind of focused on the drivers themselves, the teams building up, their individual storylines and not really having to focus so much on the sport. This season or last season, but this season, as far as Drive to Survive Season 4 is concerned, they really needed to try to find a balance. And to this point, it's choppy. It's choppy at best. I struggle with it having to, without looking at an actual schedule of what happened last season to see at what point in the timeline the show is trying to cover. It's quite difficult to remember the sequence of events. One sports documentary that did a really good job was the Chicago Bulls, The Last Dance documentary, that focused on the different championships and really kind of interwove jumping between timelines to tell the cohesive story about that that team and Michael Jordan. And the way they did it was a graphic where it would kind of zoom out from a scene and then you'd see an actual timeline and it would pan back or pan forward and it would give you the year stamp. And they clearly put a lot of time into that. A little bit more difficult to do with Drive to Survive. The turnaround time is less than a year. Who knows when they actually start editing this? I don't know if they do it at the beginning of the season as these races, as they start getting footage, or if they just record, and then decide the story they want to tell, do the one-on-ones with the drivers and the teams, and go from there. Either way, they're getting exposed a little bit. a little bit in this season because I mean I'm finding it kind of difficult to follow along, and it's not as entertaining as it can be. Then again, I'm a lifelong Formula One fan of like 25, 26 years. I've only recently become basically the Rob Lowe of F1, where I just like wear the F1 logo on my hat instead of rooting hard for an individual team. I mean, we can all, except I'm definitely rooting against Max Verstappen under any circumstances, as far as I'm concerned. But anywho, uh, definitely finding that to be a challenge. So if you're having that difficulty, you're not alone. You're in good company. It's all over the place, which is I don't know, not too great. Um, it almost feels like they should have just scrapped it. The team by team thing. What they might need to do in the future now that there's kind of a more established fan base for the show and the sport. Just almost do like what Hard Knocks does, where they pick a team and they just follow them. Maybe they could do that with two or three teams and just kind of go more sequentially. But I mean, it seems like the show itself is trying to figure out what it is meant to do, and it, I mean, it just seems like the main thing is just to pimp out the personalities of the people in the sport, and then tell a story as the best they can to kind of highlight those people, which is fine. I guess it does make good for a good binge watching show. But if you're more into the sport than the than the reality show stuff, um, it leaves you wanting more, which you can watch the season for. So who the hell am I to criticize Netflix? They're getting that money bag left and right. But let's get into the actual episode a little bit here. So it's a Merc and Mercedes and Red Bull focused episode, which is the first one of the season so far. The title, the tipping point. I mean, eventually, I'm gonna. I feel like these episode names are just like random name generators. They're so generic and cheesy and cliche. I mean, Drive to Survive itself is like just. I mean, we can do better, guys. We can do better. What can you do? But yeah, Red Bull, Mercedes focused episode. We get Christian Horner skeet shooting, being totally relatable. So far we've had like long walks through these open field garden vineyards, and people driving friggin' Ferraris and McLarens around Monaco. I'm trying to keep track of the locales and how we're how we're building these personalities and the things they like to do. There was a weird golf scene um, with Pierre Gasly and his friend, which I mean that golf course was hurting. So, and I'm not a golfer. But yeah, and then we get the first live table cameo where they actually show the constructors or the drivers standing, which is very brief. Um, Will Buxton doesn't go into an explanation that you get points when you finish a race if you finish in the top 10 and how many points you get. He does get into the other minutia about how fresh tires are better tires. Thank you for that, Will. Again, understand it, but us hardos, as F1 hardos, got to point that out. More pumpernickel for Toto Wolff. This time he does not specify that it snaps like a cookie. He just says the pumpernickel. So that's two on the pumpernickel orders for Toto Wolff if we're counting that. We get the we get more detail into the qualifying and how Leclerc crashed at the end of his lap. We get to see Verstappen's reaction in car at the time, and totally level headed reaction by Verstappen, completely understanding. I mean, nothing but a sportsman, making sure that Leclerc was okay. Wait, what's that? Oh, sorry. The producer's telling me that he in fact did not, and he said that was a fucking lap, and so poor Max. He qualified second. Poor Max. We get Hamilton. He qualified like seventh. Not great. And Mercedes didn't do well on those twisty bits tracks. Otherwise, but on the other hand, the Red Bull and Ferrari seem to. Not mentioned is that it was the drama that occurred in the press, I guess, or in the just leading up to the race from Saturday to Sunday about the concern for Leclerc's drive shaft. Everybody was speculating that Ferrari Leclerc was going to have to start from the back of the grid anyway because he was going to have to replace the drive shaft. I believe that it was damaged. Ferrari said it was okay. Go out there and what do you know? The gearbox didn't work. So what? I mean, massive disappointment for Charles. Monaco. He's from Monaco, so it's his home track. Ferrari hasn't had a win in a while. Till this weekend. Spoiler alert. And so really, really disappointing for them. It meant Verstappen essentially started from pole. There was a bit of an opportunity for Mercedes with the pit strategy. Bottas qualified ahead of Hamilton. Believe they were going to try to use him as some sort of blocker. But instead, Bottas had the longest pit stop ever. They machined the wheel nut, could not get the tire off of the car. I guess it took like an entire extra day to get the wheel nut off. And yeah, I'd kind of forgotten about that. So it was good that the show touched on that. They were probably using old Milwaukee drills, and it just didn't work. It just machined the threads right off. Sadly, another great thing that we got to we actually didn't get to see the visual, but we did see Serena Williams waving the checkered flag at Monaco, and there was just a hilarious photo or visual going around after the Monaco Grand Prix where Serena Williams, who is, one of the most physically imposing athletes in the world, standing next to Max Verstappen, and these guys are like jockeys. So it was very interesting seeing the size comparison between Super Max and and Serena Williams. It was just great to see, and Max looked fully aware of his stature in that situation. But yeah, just I love seeing that visual in Monaco. What else did we see? At this point, we get more Ginger Spice. What's her name? Jerry Halliwell or something like that. I can't remember, but we get Ginger Spice strolling in her equestrian um, equestrian fashion. Totally casual. I mean, definitely not staged for the cameras at all. Just walking through their open field, and I mean, Ginger Spice is into Formula One clearly. I think I saw her on the grid. She would show up. I shouldn't give her crap. Um, but yeah, maybe she's being brought in as a marketing tool to promote the show more. Who knows? Who knows? Just not Christian Horner is not coming off too great to me. But then again, none of Red Bull is. So maybe it's just my bias. But like Ginger Spice, come on. Like you were part of the biggest pop group of all time, or one of them, world renowned, and you end up with the dad of the Formula One grid. But Christian Horner, every single time I see him, he's making dad jokes or he's complaining. Um, so I just feel like you do better, Ginger. What is this, Christian Horner? Come on. I mean, you have two lovely kids, so what can you say? You get to travel the world. Your husband's only around like half the weekends of the year, so yeah. I mean, I guess it's not a bad gig, but you really want to be his lover? Then we get the visual of the 5 wins in a row for Max, making it seem like that happened right after Monaco. Um, I don't exactly remember, but I mean, I guess it ended with the Dutch Grand Prix, so that would have been for the 2 races in Austria. He didn't win the British Grand Prix. When did he win 5 in a row? Maybe his Red Bull won 5 in a row. I mean, this is confusing. They say they get 5 in a row wins. They show Hungary, or excuse me, they show the race at the Netherlands. I can't think of the track off the top of my head. Zandvoort. They show that as part of the montage. I believe that was the 5th one. They even show the Belgian debacle. So they really just skim over it, and the main point of that is to show, the pressure is on Lewis, and the British, and we lead up to the British Grand Prix, which was the 10th round of the championship, which was before the 5 race winning streak for Red Bull, wherever the heck that was in the schedule. I mean, I guess it would have been Imola, Portugal, Spain, Monaco, and Baku. Yeah, this is bad radio, but I mean, therein lies the point. Like, they say 5 wins, they show Zandvoort as one of them. That's not in the string of 5 leading up to the British Grand Prix. So for somebody like me, it's really confusing, because they're going out of order, and it's not really telling the true story of the season. But what can you do? They skipped over Baku. Like, oh, I can't believe they skipped over that race. That race was amazing. We had the tire blowouts of both Stroll and Verstappen. We got Verstappen kicking his tire, because it was most definitely his tire's fault. And I mean, the way to respond to that is to abuse the vehicle that's been carrying you around for years now safely. Um, okay, that's a nitpick, but we miss that. We do get Hamilton saying, oh, we got to remember it's a marathon, not a sprint, as he sends his car Leroy Jenkins style into the escape escape runway. What do you call that? The escape area of turn one, and Perez gets a win, which is nice. He gets a win out of that. I remember I lost money on that race, though. I ended up putting like $100 on Hamilton to win, just because I had a feeling, and it did not come to fruition. So yeah, I'm mad that Baku wasn't included. The culmination of this episode, though, of course, is the crash between Hamilton and Verstappen. It's Silverstone at Cops Corner, I believe. I don't know how you pronounce it, but the high speed right hander at Silverstone used to be towards the start of the lap. Now it's about mid lap. So we get the start sequence, which was them going back and forth a little bit. Hamilton sets up. Verstappen dives down the inside, a very brave move to say the least. Very dangerous. And Verstappen, instead of using the runoff to make the corner, turns in, gets pitched sideways, goes into the barrier. One mechanic says that's 190-mile-an-hour corner there. Probably closer to 170, if that is the actual peak speeds there. But I mean, this is first lap, cold tires, full fuel load. So I don't know that they would have been touching 190. 190 seems high estimate in the first place. So didn't get an actual number, but yeah, he goes into the wall. We get him groaning. He sounds pretty banged up after the accident. Definitely was dazed, which he didn't go into too much afterwards. Helmut Marko and Christian Horner certainly did. We hear Christian Horner say on the radio, they could have killed our driver right there. And they want Hamilton out of the race. Hamilton's given, was a 5-second stop go or 10-second, I can't even remember, slap on the wrist. And he goes on to storm back and win the race, which Red Bull's not happy about, which is understandable. We have Leclerc, snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory yet again. No fault of his own this time. But yeah, we get hammer time. We do get Bono telling Lewis it's hammer time to go in and get Charles to get the win. I mean, what's more epic, when Bono says it's hammer time or Renegade at Steelers games? I don't know. People are asking. We see Helmut Marko on the pit wall after the accident. He's getting, riled up, and he said some pretty inflammatory stuff after the fact. And I mean, what can you do? I mean, your driver's Max Verstappen. He says he won't yield. We have him before this incident, saying only a weakling would do that, regarding respectful driving, leaving space, so he sees that as a sign of weakness, and then seems to contradict himself after that. So we do get a lot of Mercedes perspective saying hopefully that'll teach Max the lesson that he needs to learn, which is what I was saying for years about Max's driving style, and specifically about the title fight last season was, eventually this is going to bite Max, and it's going to show his true character on how he reacts once he does get bitten. Hopefully nothing severe would happen to him, which, it was a pretty bad accident, but he's fully mobile, no lasting injuries after that accident, at least that we're aware of. He didn't really change his driver style. However, full disclosure, where I'm recording this after the first race in Abu Dhabi, and he had a battle with Charles Leclerc for position, and there were a few times where he could have ran Charles off the track. This is mid race. This is race one. These are new cars. How much of all that factored in to Max's more gentle driving style and leaving space? Tough to say. How much of it is just because it's Charles and not Lewis? I don't know. But Max showing some restraint, maybe learned a bit. Maybe now that he's champ, spoiler alert, from last season, he'll be a little more cautious, which would be nice to see. But who knows? So Lewis Hamilton gets the win at Silverstone. Red Bull very much unhappy. Drive to Survive seemed to edit the piece into kind of supporting Lewis, which was nice. I supported Lewis. I think it was a dangerous move and he shouldn't have done it, but I see why he did, if that makes any sense. And I'm okay with a 5-second penalty. I mean, maybe 10-second. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he shouldn't have been given a race ban or anything like that. I don't see any actions that warranted that. And then when you get like an awesome like techno outro, which I mean, can't we just get more techno in F1? It's like peanut butter and jelly. Anyway, so that's gonna do episode 3, the tipping point, or just tipping point. And we'll get into episode 4 next time. Thanks for listening. Toodaloo.